My name is Jessica Chow, and I am part of the recruitment team here at the university. Today, I am joined by my colleague, Tyler Shills, who is on the back end, and he will also be popping up a little bit later towards the end of the session to help facilitate the question and answer period. So a little bit of housekeeping. What we're going to do today is go through a series of slides to let you know a little bit more about our community, our academics, and everything that you need to know about U of T engineering. And then if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to pop them into the Q&A, which you will find at the bottom of the screen. And you're welcome to add those throughout the presentation, but we will have an opportunity to address those at the very end. Another thing to note as well is that throughout my presentation, you'll find these white circles with your URLs in them, right, like this one right here. These are links that will provide you with more information on our website, and Tyler will be adding those to the chat just to help you navigate to those websites. The other thing I want to note as well is we have turned on closed captioning. So if you would like, you can turn on that for yourself. And again, that is towards the bottom of the screen. Now, without any further ado, I'm going to get us started. So these are the things that we are going to cover today: experiential learning opportunities, our academics that we offer, our community here at U of T Engineering, and then I will also follow with details about the admission process and financial aid and scholarship opportunities. All in all, what I hope to communicate with you today is why we here at U of T Engineering have been recognized as the #1 school in Canada and among the best in the world to pursue your engineering studies. Now, a question that we get often, especially for students who are trying to decide which area or discipline it is that that they would like to pursue, is what exactly is the difference between engineering and science? Now, science helps us understand very important aspects about the world, while engineers are applying this knowledge to drive solutions. So an engineering degree that you're getting is a professional degree in critical thinking and problem solving, which means that the engineering graduates are incredibly versatile, which is why you'll see them in virtually every industry and field addressing major global challenges. Now, again, because scientists are discovering the why and how, and engineers are designing solutions, we really get to see our students who graduate from our engineering program in very many different fields and industries. And these here are just some examples of how our students are addressing challenges throughout the world. One example of this is a student. His name is Satya, and he is a second-year chemical engineering student who, as a part of the Global Challenge Lab, worked together with students from India and Ghana in a hackathon. So what they did was looking to address the problem of stubble burning in northern India. So after rice harvesting, there's leftover stubble or the straw left over from rice harvests. And what farmers used to do was burn it, which, as you know, is not very good for air quality or for human health. So what Satya and his teammates developed was this app called eParali. And essentially what it does is it connects machine owners who own the machinery to clear stubble to smaller farms. They also offered additional economic benefits in terms of connecting farmers with local truck drivers who can then collect the stubble that was recovered and sell it as an additional resource. So this is just an example of how our students are creating impact globally. In fact, within our faculty, we have this saying called engineering for the world. And what that is a reminder to our students that engineering is a profession that serves all of humanity and communities worldwide. So for our students, this means that their education allows them to understand the ethical, the social, and the economic impacts of engineering solutions in a global context through the coursework and projects that they are participating in. But it also means that our students have the opportunity to work hands-on with partners from different companies, NGOs, universities worldwide, so they truly understand the global context of their education. Now, and speaking of, having the opportunity for hands-on learning, this idea of learning by doing is really a central piece to what our U of T engineering education is all about. So regardless of which academic area of study our students are focusing on, there's a wide range of unique experiential opportunities for them to really enhance their technical and their professional skills. So these here are just an example of what we offer. For example, we have the Entrepreneurship Hatchery, which is for students who have an idea that they may want to take into business. So they want to develop it, they want to create a product, they want to put it into the marketplace. The Hatchery provides different supports and resources to help facilitate that for our students. We also have the Troost Institute for Leadership Education and Engineering, or Troost iLead, and they offer different programs, certificates, and courses to help our students develop the leadership skills that are so essential, obviously, while you're in the classroom, but also once you've graduated from us. There's also what we call global exchanges, which is the opportunity for students to get an international experience and go abroad to a different school somewhere else in the world. And the courses and the programs that they're taking will count towards their degree here at U of T. I'm also going to focus now on the Professional Experience Year Co-op program, or the PEY Co-op for short. This is our flagship work experience program, which means that our students get up to 20 months of work experience as a part of their degree. You may be familiar with the traditional model of co-op, which is 4 months of work, 4 months of study, and students alternate between the two. Now, what makes our co-op program different is the structure. So we don't necessarily follow this 4 months on, 4 months off model. Instead, our students can do an optional 4 months between their second and their third year. So that's between May and August, which we consider the summer months here at university. And while the bulk of their work experience will take place as a 12 to 16 month opportunity at one company. And what we find is that because our students are spending that long duration of time at one place, they really have the opportunity to see things from beginning to end, be involved in projects, as well as really taking that time to develop meaningful relationships with their coworkers. Now, one thing that I will note about the PEY co-op process is that it is paid. So the average salary last year was $55,000. Obviously, that will change depending on the opportunity that you land. Now, what's key about the Professional Experience Year Co-op program is that it is a supported process in that our students are provided with programming in both their first and second year to help prepare them for the recruitment cycles. Students are required to and responsible for finding their own co-op opportunities. But again, they will be prepared to put their resume together, to go through the interview process, to submit an application. And we prepare and make sure that our students have that skill set before they go about finding their first co-op opportunity. Now, this here is Kimberly Lai, and Kimberly did a 16-month co-op at Saffron Landing Systems. And we encourage you to go on the website here, which Tyler will note in the chat, as it brings you to a video and allows you to get a better understanding of what a student on a PEY co-op can do during their time on one of those work terms. Now, PEY co-op really is a great way for you to try out a company or an industry like Kimberly did. You will note that we have over 360 different hiring companies that hire our students. So there's really quite the range in terms of working in a smaller startup company or working for a global company, if that's what you're looking for. So really lots of opportunities there for you to find that co-op opportunity that you want that will meet your career goals. In addition, we also offer a robust summer research opportunity program. So many of our U of T engineering professors are renowned researchers, such as Professor Warren Chan, who you see here on the screen. And what he does in his research is apply nanoengineering to develop new approaches to cancer treatments. And labs like his and professors like Professor Warren Chan are looking to hire students every summer to help them with their research. Beyond on-campus opportunities, we also partner with universities around the world that have different research positions for our students. So, there are more informal and formal ways for you to get that research experience, be it, through a formal program like the Engineering Science Research Opportunities Program or ESROP, or through reaching out to a professor like Professor Chan here to see if they are taking on taking on students to help them with their research. So all in all, if that's something that you're looking to do as a part of your degree, we definitely offer it here at U of T. Now let's shift gears to talk a little bit about the academic programs that we offer. So within the faculty, we have two main curricular pathways that fall under either the core programs, which further branch into the core 8 or track 1, or the second pathway is the engineering science program. So pathway 1 or the core programs refer to the core 8, which is the discipline that we use to describe the various engineering disciplines that we offer. So you'll see here that we do offer chemical, civil, computer, electrical, industrial, materials, mechanical, and mineral engineering. The students who are in this program are taking the same foundational engineering courses in your first year before they go off into the various disciplines that they are enrolled in. Now, one thing that I will note is because the first year is so similar, if you start off in one of the core programs but decide that there's another discipline that might better fit what it is that you're looking for, there is a little bit of flexibility in terms of you transferring from one program to another. And that will depend on your academic performance as well as whether there's space in the program at that time. Now, for students who know they want engineering, but at this time aren't quite sure which it is that they want to apply to, we offer what we call the Track 1 program. So Track 1 students are taking the same foundation year as all of our Core 8 students, but one of those courses is a seminar, and that seminar will allow you to better understand what those individual disciplines entail, so that at the end of your first year, provided that you're in good academic standing in both your first and your second semesters, and at this time that's 60%, you're guaranteed into whichever discipline of engineering you want, and that is the Core 8 program that you will be studying for the remainder of your time here at U of T Engineering. Now, because that first year is similar, it's not the duration of the program is the same for Track 1 students as it is for our Core 8 students, and that's about 4 years. Now, the second pathway that we offer is a program called Engineering Science. So this is a program that differs from our other core programs in terms of, firstly, the structure. So the first 2 years, years 1 and 2, students are participating in their foundation years, and that includes courses in pure maths, pure sciences, there's design, and the approach that they're using in this program really allows students to better understand why it is that they're using the tools they use. So there's a lot of focus on the first principles approach. At the end of the second year, students will have the opportunity to choose one of 8 majors, and the 8 majors are noted here, and that is how they will specialize and focus their degree for the remainder of their program. Now, I will also note that with the engineering science program, there is that marriage between the theory that you will see in science, as well as the application piece to engineering. So this program is a little bit more theoretical than our other core programs. Now, regardless of which program it is that you choose, either the Core 8, the Track 1, or the engineering science program, there are many ways for you to also customize your degree. So first, you can do that through an area of focus within your program or with the majors if you're in engineering science. You can choose a minor and certificate that we offer within the faculty, or choose from minors across the Faculty of Arts and Science. So in terms of an area of focus, so within each of our programs, there's an opportunity for students to specialize so that you can choose a focus based on what your interests are. This is an example of the areas of focus that are available within the materials engineering program, which is one of our Core 8. So basically what it does is allow you to group courses based on what you're interested in within the discipline of engineering that you're studying. So it gives you that area of expertise within the discipline of engineering that you are pursuing. We also have a number of different minors and certificates within the faculty. And this list here just gives you a taste of the various minors and certificates that we offer. The difference between the two is that a minor is 6 courses, whereas a certificate is 3 courses. So it really depends on how much and how in depth you want to go in terms of pursuing these various options. What's really great about the minors and the certificates is that what you're studying doesn't necessarily have to align with the discipline of engineering that you're in. For example, one of our more popular or most popular minors is the engineering business. We also have a certificate in that as well. So again, it just depends on whether you want to, how much you want to focus in on the business piece with these two. And then, of course, you're not limited to what we offer within the faculty. We also have courses that you can pursue as a minor within the Faculty of Arts and Science as well. So if you are passionate about languages or social sciences or humanities, there is that flexibility for you to add that to your degree. Now, what I want to emphasize, though, when it comes to customizing your academic journey is that you don't have to decide at this point how you want to do that customization. At this time, all you're choosing is which program you want to be in. So if it's a Core 8 program, the Track 1 program, or engineering science. It's not until later on, once you're current students, when you'll start thinking about how you can customize your degree based on what your interests are at that point. And, that might change between now and then. As you're taking more courses, you might find that a particular area that you are just being introduced to might actually fascinate you and you didn't know it necessarily existed while you were doing your research in high school. So lots of time for you to make that customization. And then, of course, just want to communicate that there's lots of ways for you to really mix and match to tailor your studies, and that you don't necessarily have to choose one over the other. Now, of course, we know university is academics is a huge part of university, but so is finding and creating your community. So let's take a little bit of time to see what that looks like here at the U of T engineering. So engineering specifically, we are among one of the most tightly knit and diverse communities on campus. Our students are coming from all over the world, which is something that we're really proud of. And for the past couple of years now, our incoming class has been at or close to 40% women, which puts us as the highest proportion of females in an engineering classroom within the country. This diversity is something that we are very proud of, and it's something that we really value because it really deepens the engineering creative process and enriches the learning environment for our students, both inside and outside of the classroom. Engineers really are individuals who aren't working by themselves. You're working with people from different fields and different industries, and you're working to solve challenges and create solutions that fit everyone. And because society and humanity is made up of people from all over the world with different perspectives and values and backgrounds and beliefs, having that perspective and being able to start considering what other people's perspectives are during your engineering education is a really good thing to have as you are pursuing an engineering education. The interests, passions, and backgrounds of our students are also quite diverse within the faculty, and we have 75 that are specific engineering design clubs and teams that you can be a part of. These can be anything from Blue Sky Solar the Blue Sky Solar Racing team, who build a solar vehicle that they race against other institutions in Australia and outback every other year. This could be the Hide and Seek Club. This could be, the Quidditch Club, for example. So really just lots of ways for you to meet students within the faculty and to apply what it is that you're learning in the classroom into a passion that you have. If you can't find something within the 75 that we offer, there's also 800 different clubs across the university if you wanted to meet other students from other faculties as well. So all in all, just lots of ways for you to really find your people and to make sure that you're enjoying your experience here at the university. Now, when it comes to student supports, this is a very important piece to us here within the faculty, and there's many layers of supports that you can count on when you're here as a student. At the university level, as a U of T and a U of T student, you have access to supports like health and wellness, accessibility services. There's also the additional layer of support that we offer for students within the faculty. And these folks who are in these offices are very attuned to what the needs of engineering students are, and they can tailor the resources, the programming that they offer to meet these needs. So this is a list of all the different services that are available to our students within the faculty. And one that I really like to highlight is the first year office. We're aware that the transition from high school to university may be a lot, especially if you're, if you're also moving away from family for the first time, or this is your first time in the city. So the first year office is there, and a group of academic advisors who are there to help you with any of those any pieces of your academics that you might need support in. And they also run a peer tutoring program called GEARS, Guided Engineering Academic Review Sessions, where students from their upper years who did very well in their first year courses are coming back to tutor first year students through that material. So just one example of the many different supports that we have available to our students. And this investment, I think, has allowed us to have 94% of our students start off in first year of the engineering programs and continue on. So, you know, all in all, just really highlighting that if you need help, there's many, many ways for you to get that here within the faculty. Another way for you to find community is through residence. So across the University of Toronto, specifically here at the St. George campus or the downtown campus, which is where engineering is offered only, there are many different residence styles that you have access to. So we have the traditional dorm style where it's you and a roommate in a room. You're eating your meals downstairs in the cafeteria, and there's a couple bathrooms that you're sharing across your floor. We also have suite style, which is where you have 4 to 5 roommates. There's a kitchen for you to cook your own meals, so you have that flexibility. And then there's the Chestnut residence, which happens to be the one that most engineering students typically end up in. Chestnut used to be a hotel. So the setup is the way that a hotel is, which means it's you and a roommate. There's a bathroom that you're sharing between the two of you, an ensuite bathroom, and then your meals are eaten downstairs in the cafeteria. Now, Chestnut has a couple of added benefits to support our engineering students, which includes the faculty and residence program. So there is a faculty member currently. It is Professor Chirag Bariawa, who is there to put on programming such as Dinner with a Prof Night, where he will invite professors from the engineering faculty to come have a meal with engineering students so that students get to know their professors outside of that academic setting. It is also important to note that housing is guaranteed for all new first-year students, and that guarantee requires you to submit your application by March 31st and to receive and accept your offer of admission by June 1st. Now, one thing that I will note here is that there may be the potential that you do not hear back from us by that March 31st deadline, but we encourage you to complete the application anyway. There's no financial commitment tagged along with that. So just complete the application to make sure that you guarantee yourself a spot. And then later on, if you decide that that's not something you need, then you don't have to worry about committing. Now, I think this, this idea of our experiential learning or the learning by doing approach that we have, the academics that we offer that are very customizable to what your interests are, and having that incredibly supportive community allows us to do what we call nurturing the whole engineer. So what that means is, of course, we're going to provide you with a quality education that's going to provide you with all the technical experience that you need to be an excellent engineer. But we're also going to focus on developing your soft skills as well. Engineers really need to be able to communicate their ideas, to be able to work in teams. And we're going to provide you with an education that nurtures that as well. So really allowing us to develop you as that whole engineer. Another thing that I will note is that because of this holistic approach that we have, you're guaranteed that quality education, as I mentioned. But what's really great about us being here and a part of the University of Toronto is that the University of Toronto is an institution that is recognized worldwide. So regardless of where it is that you choose to pursue your careers after your time with us, be it, here in Toronto, in Canada, or wherever it is that you're coming from, there's a lot of portability to your degree. And what I mean by portability is that the employers recognize that U of T engineering degree that you're going to have and the quality of the education that you're going to have, allowing you to really be very versatile in terms of having lots of flexibility, really, in regards to where it is that you pursue your career and where you settle down. Now, I'm going to switch gears one last time to talk about the admissions process and finances. So here you'll see an outline of what the admission process looked like. I will note that you will see these two numbers here, 105 and 101. What that refers to is the application form that you are going to use on the Ontario University's Application Center, or the OUAC. So for those of you who are currently studying in an Ontario high school, you will be using the 101 application form, and your guidance counselor will be providing you with the login and password to access that application. For all other students, you are going to be using the 105 form, and essentially you just have to create your own password and login information, and you're going to do a little bit more work and upload any required documents that we need from you as outlined in the application. So the first part of the admission process is to apply to the OUAC. The deadline is January 12th. You will see here in red the early consideration deadlines. And what that is means that if you abide by the deadlines for the various pieces of the application process by those dates, there is a chance that you may hear back earlier in the admission process. However, if the admission committee feels that they want to wait for additional details before they make an admission decision, they will. So an early consideration deadline and following that early consideration deadline does not necessarily guarantee an early admission decision. So I just want to make that clear. So again, first step is the OUAC application. Within about a week or so after you submit that, you're going to receive access to the engineering applicant portal, which I'll go through in a little bit. And part of that portal is our mandatory supplementary application, the online student profile. Once you submit all of this, those details are going to go to the admission committee, and they're going to make a decision either between February to April if you are a 105 applicant, or in February, March, or May if you're a 101 applicant. You will have, if you receive an offer of admission, you will have until May 1st if you're a 105 applicant to accept your offer of admission, and June 1st if you're a 101 applicant. Again, just to highlight the difference, 101 is an Ontario high school student, and 105 is all other students applying to us. There's also the awards profile for Canadian students that you can complete, and we'll consider you for additional awards based on the criteria, depending on what award it is. So it might be financial, it might be needs-based, it might be leadership skills, it might be, it'll depend on what the award is, but that's an option available to you. And then, as I mentioned earlier, there is that residence application that you will have to complete by March 31st if you're interested in being considered for that residence guarantee. All right, so OUAC application is the first step, and within a week or so, you will receive access to the engineering applicant portal. So what that portal is essentially what we're going to be using to communicate with you throughout the process. So that's where you can check the status of your application. If you have to provide us with any documents such as transcripts or proof of results for any standardized tests, you can upload that through the portal as well. There's also the online student profile, the mandatory supplementary application that you can access. We also have the optional U of T applicant census, which has no bearing on the admission process. It's simply for us to better understand who our applicants are, so we can better service them. For international applicants, there is an optional financial information section, or there's a tab where we'll collect some details about your financial situation, and that will be taken into consideration for admission scholarships. So now I'm going to take some time to talk about the online student profile, which, as I mentioned, is our mandatory supplementary application. Now, the first thing that I will note is that the deadline for this is February 1st, but we highly encourage you to submit, if not by the early admission deadline, to submit the online student profile by January 17th. Just note that the earlier you complete all the pieces of the application, the earlier we can start processing it, and the earlier that you can potentially hear back. Now, one thing I will note when it comes to how many programs you can apply to for U of T engineering, on the OUAC, you're going to put your top U of T engineering program. So just one. If you're serious about coming to U of T engineering, I would encourage you to rank us as first, as that might play a small portion in the admission decisions. If you rank us less than 3, then you may potentially be disadvantaged. So that's just something for you to keep in mind. Once you get to the online student profile, though, you can submit up to 4 U of T engineering programs that you want the admission committee to consider you for. So we'll look at your first choice. If you're not eligible, we'll look at your second, and so forth until you've been considered for up to the 4 that you put down. We're also going to ask you to confirm your interest in the PEY co-op program. So it's an optional program. You don't have to do it if you don't think it meets your career goals. But essentially, by indicating that you're interested in PEY co-op, we're going to connect you with the services as soon as you're a first-year student. Indicating that you're interested in the program does not make it any more competitive to be considered for the application process. We're also going to ask you for details about your academic history. So that's the education timeline. And we're going to ask you to upload information about your grades for the courses that we're looking for. And that's the academic profile. On the OSP, you're also going to include your extracurricular involvement and personal profile. So one thing for you to know is that here at U of T Engineering, we have what we call a broad-based admissions system or admission process. And what that means is that we believe that there is more to you than just grades. And that is what you're doing outside of the classroom and all your achievements is something that we will take into consideration as a part of the admission process. And a big part of that has to do with us being a professional program where, as I mentioned before, what you're doing in the classroom is important, but the skills that you're learning outside of the classroom is equally important as well. And we want to emulate that, starting with the admission process. So what we're going to be considering you for is as a part of the broad-based admission process is your academic performance, your extracurricular involvement, and the personal profile. So what we're looking for generally when it comes to the academics is senior level chemistry, physics, English, and math, including calculus. I encourage you to visit the website ufteng.ca/apply, which Tyler will be noting in the chat shortly, to see what specifically it is looking for in terms of prerequisite courses for your curriculum that you are studying. If English is not your first language, you may also be required to provide us with proof of English proficiency. This is also a mandatory part of the application process. So you won't receive an offer of admission until you've satisfied our English language facility requirement. So if you think this might be you, I encourage you to confirm if that's the case. And this is just a list of the various tests that we will take for meeting that English language requirement. Now, in terms of extracurricular involvement, anything counts. It doesn't have to be math or science related. It doesn't have to be things that you're doing in school only. Sports, volunteering, part-time jobs, full-time jobs, student government, music, art, band, all of that counts. What we're really looking for is your demonstration of skills like leadership, communications, teamwork. So what happens is you'll have a box to describe the activity that you're a part of. If it's an activity that, might not be necessarily familiar to everyone, take the time to describe what that is. So I use soccer as an example. Soccer is pretty well known, so you don't have to tell us what soccer is. But if you're part of the soccer team, for example, what is it that you do on the soccer team? Do you help run drills? Do you help run practices? Those are the examples that we want to see so we get a better idea of what skill sets you've developed as a part of being involved in that particular activity. You also will be required to provide a reference, so someone who can verify that you've been part of an activity. If you've done something like you run your own website, and there's no one person who can verify that, you can also include the link to your website, for example. We just basically want to see proof of your involvement. I will also note that we don't take reference letters, and that is not something that we consider as a part of the admission process. And it's really important that you take time to, you spend time to really work on this part of the application because we're using both your academic performance and extracurricular involvement when we're considering you for both the admission and scholarships. And finally, we have the personal profile. So the personal profile is 3 questions. 2 are answered via video and 1 is a written response. How it works is you're going to get the question. You're going to have a couple minutes to prepare. So we encourage you to have a pen and paper ready to jot down notes, and then you'll have to answer the question. In total, I'll say it takes about 30 minutes. We always encourage applicants to take some time somewhere quiet, somewhere with strong internet connection. If this can't be at home, maybe a library at school that can provide you with that setting might be appropriate. But also if you're doing this at home, to let the people around you know that you're working on this so there's no interruptions while you are completing those 3 questions. there's no real specific way for you to prepare because the questions that we're asking are technically oriented, but there's no right or wrong answer. It'll be a creative problem solving question. Some will be interview-like questions. So what we're really trying to get at is your problem solving skills, your critical thinking skills, and how well you can articulate your ideas. Now, the last piece I want to speak about is scholarship awards and financial aid. So when it comes to these opportunities, they fall under the need-based and merit-based opportunities. So need-based is based on a demonstration of financial need. For students who are in Canada, there is a provincial student loan funding program that you should be able to access and apply for. So for example, for students who are in Ontario, that is the Ontario Students Assistance Plan, or OSAP. We also have something called the U of T Advanced Planning for Students, or UTAPS, which provides students who maximize the amount of funding that the provincial program can provide. But if there's still additional need, UTAPS will kick in the form of grants, which is money, is money that you don't have to pay back to help fund your education. If you're an international student, unfortunately, because we are a publicly funded institution, we can't offer international students financial aid. But that said, we encourage you to look at what opportunities are available in your home country for students who are looking to study abroad. We also have merit-based opportunities, and this again is based on your extracurricular involvement as well as your academic achievements. All students are automatically considered for admission scholarships, and again, based on those two things, your extracurricular involvement and your academics. And one of those for international students is the U of T Engineering International Scholar Award. What's really important is to remember that if you want to be considered for this award, to please include in the financial information tab, which you will see in the portal, those details about your financial situation, which we will take into account as a part of the admission process. One thing I forgot to note earlier is that for any students out there who may identify as Black or Indigenous within Canada, there is the opportunity for you to check off whether you would like to be considered for those in that financial information tab as well. Now, there are also separate applications and nominations that might be needed for other awards that we offer. So I'm thinking of the National Scholarship Program, which is for students who are studying in Canada, and the Lester B. Pearson International Scholarship, which does require a school nomination and for you to apply a little bit earlier as well as an application. So Tyler will note the details for those in the website that he's going to share in the chat. But ultimately, lots of opportunities in terms of financial assistance to help you and pay for your investment into your education. All right, so I went through a lot of information in the past little bit. Before we turn to the Q&A, which I see has been that you folks have been submitting questions to, I just wanted to direct your attention to our website. So a lot of the things that I've talked about today are detailed in more details on our website, Discover Engineering. So really encourage you to take a look there, where you can download our viewbook, which will go over everything that I talked about today. There's student profiles and videos. If you're available to make it onto campus, we also offer tours led by current students. So you get to see our facilities as well as hear from a student perspective. So definitely encourage you to visit our Discover Engineering website. We also are on social media, so another great way for you to get a sense of what our community is like if you aren't able to make it to campus. And then there's our email as well, which is for you if you have any questions during the admission process or you have any questions after today. Definitely feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. And myself, Tyler, and our other colleagues are very happy to help. And at this time, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we are going to get to the Q&As. So Tyler, take it away.
Hello, Jessica. Thank you. So we have a lot of great questions in the Q&A, and I was hoping you might be able to take a couple minutes to answer them. So the very first one actually is a question that was addressed at the beginning of your presentation. I was just hoping you might be able to touch on and explain the difference between science and engineering again for us, please.
Yes, of course. So science really is the idea is better understanding what our world is. So there's a lot of theory behind it, whereas with engineering is that application of that knowledge. So application of what our world is. So that kind of is the difference. If you are interested in, more of that applied piece, taking what you see and seeing how to apply it into a real life setting, engineering might be for you. So hopefully that helps.
Great, thank you. There's a great question here about what type of questions do the supplemental applications for engineering entail? Does it require an essay, a short answer questions, or video recording interview? I know you touched on that, but I was hoping you might just be able to go over it once more for us, please.
Of course. So the supplementary application, there is a couple parts. So first is the program choice. Like I said, you can choose up to 4 U of T engineering programs you want to be considered for. We're also going to look for your academic history as well as your grade information, your extracurricular involvement, and then the personal profile, which we usually get a lot of questions about. So that personal profile is 3 questions. 2 are written, 2 are video responses rather. So the question will pop up in a video format, and then you will have to record your answer. And then there's a written response as well. And that's about a 10-minute written response. So that's the closest that we have to an essay or an interview. But that's what you're looking at when it comes to the supplementary application.
What options are available for students who are interested in aerospace engineering?
Of course. So that's a great question. Now, one thing I will start off by saying is that aerospace is a very multidisciplinary field. So what that means is that students from the various disciplines that we offer can pursue a career in the field of aerospace. And why that is because it really depends on what angle it is that you want to take. So for example, are you interested in building the spacecraft? That might be a mechanical or electrical engineering that you want to pursue. Are you interested in looking at the materials that is used to build the spacecraft and how to optimize that? Since, space and Earth have very different, I want to say air quality. That's not what I'm trying to say. But basically, it really just depends on the direction and the perspective that you're looking for. Certainly, I think within our programs, if there is the major in aerospace within the engineering science program, so again, that's an option. But you can also take courses in that field through mechanical as well, for example. So it really just depends. I would encourage you to think about, what it is that you're interested in doing and what is it that you're interested in doing and applying within the field of aerospace. Hopefully that helps.
Great. Thank you, Jessica. We've gotten a lot of very similar questions right now, and I was just hoping you might be able to touch on this piece. So the question is, generally, if I apply for early consideration and I'm not accepted in that first round, will I be considered later on, or do I have to resubmit an application? So essentially, if I am not accepted in the first round, do I have to apply again for the normal round, quote unquote, round of applications? Would you be able to touch on that, please?
Yes, of course. So the answer is you do not. So how it works is once you submitted all the various pieces of your application, you will be considered. If we feel like we don't have enough information to make a decision in, let's say, February, which is the earliest that you can hear back, we will hold off from making a decision and continue to consider you as we receive more great information from you. So that's actually a really good reminder, because for our Ontario students or those 101 applicants, your grade information is going to be sent to us automatically through your school. Whereas for all other students, you're going to have to do a little bit more work and provide us with those updated grade information as you receive them. So basically, as you receive that information, please continue to upload those documents so that we have the most up-to-date information about your grades. But no, basically, you don't have to apply again after each round. One application by the deadlines is sufficient.
Excellent. Thank you, Jessica. Can you be in the Faculty of Arts and Science and take an engineering minor?
That's a really good question. My understanding is typically the engineering courses that we offered are reserved for engineering students. If you do end up in the Faculty of Arts and Science and there is a course that you might want to take, there may be some exceptions, but I'm not really sure what that process is. So I would say if you do become an arts and science student, speak with your academic advisor and see if that you can get into those engineering courses.
If a student is completing an IB program at an Ontario high school, are they a 101 applicant?
Yes, so it doesn't matter what the curriculum you're studying is, IB or the regular Ontario curriculum. If you're studying in an Ontario high school, you are a 101 applicant.
When you're assessing supplemental applications, with regards to extracurricular involvement, how is it considered with regards to like limited activities due to the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yes, of course. So, we recognize COVID-19 is something that affected everyone, and we are aware of the limitations that happened because of COVID-19 when it came to extracurricular activities. So, if there is a question, and there is a question in the application that in the past has asked students, in light of COVID-19, what would you have done if it was not there? So, if you feel like that was something that you want to provide that context in terms of any sort of activities that you weren't able to do because of those limitations, you have that spot to communicate that to the admissions committee for them to note. But yeah, one thing I will say is that we aren't looking for a laundry list of extracurricular involvement. It really is quality over quantity. So just something for you to consider. Really, I would say my advice when it comes to extracurriculars is to spend time on detailing your responsibilities, because we want to see those demonstrations of those skills. So again, quality over quantity.
We're going to stay in the realm of extracurricular experience. When we're talking about references, what can an applicant use as proof of participation?
Of course, yeah. So I'm going to give you a couple examples because I know our applicants are, they do a lot. I would say if you're part of a student club, for example, at school, typically most clubs will have a teacher advisor. So your teacher advisor could be the individual who is providing you with a reference. Again, the reference's only responsibility is to confirm that you have been part of an activity. If you are doing something at home, let's say you wrote a book, which is something I heard recently, then you can provide us a link, for example, to the book on wherever it is that you're selling it. If you do art, you might want to add a Google Drive link to your portfolio. So those are just some examples. Again, really what we're just looking for is someone who can verify that you've been a part of that activity. So hopefully that helps.
Question here that I'm happy to address. When will the recordings of these videos be posted and how can we access them? Recordings will be able to be accessed through the Discover U of T website, the Discover U of T microsite. The videos are going to be posted in a few days. We are just going to, edit them, make them all really nice for you all, but they're going to be posted in just a couple of days. So I hope that helps everyone who's looking to to review these sessions later on. Some other great questions in here. A lot of questions about going from track 1 into engineering science or going from engineering science into core 8. And I was just hoping you might be able to touch on that a little bit, Jessica.
Yes, of course. So for students who are in a track 1 program, at the end of your first year, you are going to choose one of the programs in the core 8 discipline. You cannot go from track 1 into engineering science. So if you are interested in engineering science, I would encourage you to choose that as your first choice on your application. Engineering science students can always go into a core 8 program, but the opposite does not work. So if you start off in core 8, you cannot transfer into engineering science. So hopefully that helps.
Great, thank you. I think it was just a little bit more about what track 1 is and the difference between track 1 and beginning programs. Essentially, it's, do we have a general first year? Yeah. Overall for everyone. And if you could just talk about that a little bit more, would be great.
Yeah, of course. So when you are applying to U of T engineering, you have the option of choosing the core 8, which is, the traditional engineering programs that might come to mind. So chemical, electrical, mechanical, for example. And those typically are for students who know exactly what discipline it is that they are interested in. So you have that option to go into your discipline of choice starting from first year. For students who aren't quite sure, our general first year program is called Track 1. So this option is for students who know they want engineering, but might not be sure which discipline of engineering they want at this point in time. So what Track 1 allows our students to do is learn a little bit more about what those disciplines entail before they make an informed choice at the end of their first year. So that's what that means. So if it really just depends on whether at this point you know which program you want, as to, whether you choose a core 8 program or you choose track 1.
I think this is a really good question. And so the student has all the required U or M courses, but they've not had the opportunity to take any related courses like computer science or computer engineering type courses, and they haven't had the opportunity to take part in clubs such as robotics, etc. Is that going to have any effect on their application?
Great question. So for Ontario students, I will note that we are only looking for 5 prerequisite courses, and those are English, grade 12, English, physics, chemistry, advanced functions, and calculus and vectors. You are required to have a 6th course, and that can be anything, U or M level, so that we know you have all the requirements that you need to graduate from high school. When we're calculating the admission average, though, we're only looking at those 5 prerequisite courses that I just listed. So what that means is that if you haven't participated in an engineering-related course or you haven't taken computer science, that's not a problem. That's not going to be detrimental in your application because it's not something that we require of our applicants. In terms of extracurricular activities, the same thing. If you're not involved in something that is, traditionally engineering related, say robotics or whatever the case may be, you also won't be penalized because that's not a requirement. As I said, we're really just looking for students who are well-rounded. And if you haven't been involved in an engineering-related club, but you've been involved with something else, tell us about that something else. Again, those extracurricular activities do not need to be science or math related.
We've got a lot of questions about applying the 3 programs to the OUAC, 4 programs through the online student profile. Can you apply to both engineering, science, and track 1? Can you apply to track 1 and other engineering programs? I'm going to let you have a breather here, Jessica, and I'm going to do my best to explain this to everyone. So when you are applying through the Ontario University's Application Center, the OUAC, the OWAC, OUAC, UAC, when you're applying through the OUAC, you're going to have the opportunity to select one engineering program here at the Faculty of Applied Science at U of T, at the University of Toronto. You're going to pick one engineering program in that application through the OUAC. Once you've applied through the OUAC, after some time, you're going to get access to the engineering applicant portal, which is how our admissions office is going to communicate to you the status of your application to our faculty. It's also where you're going to complete our online student profile, the OSP, our supplemental application. The very first thing you're going to do in the supplemental application is rank your engineering programs in the order you would like to be considered for them for. You have to rank 2 programs and you are able to rank up to 4 programs. The order that you rank those programs is the order that our admissions office is going to consider you for admissions purposes. So many students will list the program on the OUAC as their first choice program on the online student profile, the OSP. Does not always happen, but in most cases, that is going to be what's going to happen. So students might select mechanical engineering on the OUAC and then also rank mechanical engineering as their first choice on the online student profile, and then may select another Core 8 program as their second choice. Again, you have to rank 2 and you can rank up to 4 programs. We're going to consider you in the order of the programs that you're listed on the online student profile. So the very first choice that you have there on the online student profile, we're going to consider you for admissions. If we can't grant you admissions for that program, we're then going to consider you for your second choice, and so on and so forth. I hope that clears things up. Jessica, if there's anything else that I should address there or you feel should be addressed, please let me know or feel free to add that in. But I think that covers, I hope that clears things up for everyone. Again, we're looking at the order that you're listing on the online student profile.
Yep, that was pretty much it. And then I was only say that for students who are interested in Sci, it has to be first. If you're interested in track 1, it has to be first. If you're interested in both, Sci comes first, and then track 1, and then whichever core programs you want to be considered for.
And then a kind of a follow-up related to that, does the 4 engineering programs you apply to affect the 3 direct entry you can apply for the U of T in general? No, again, you can only select one engineering program at U of T when you're applying through the OUAC. So that is your application to the university, to the faculty. The supplemental application is the actual application for our faculty and where you'll be applying for the program. So I hope that answers that. A really great question, though.
I see one here
Oh,
that I
please.
was going to type. So a student is asking whether we offer an architectural engineering program. So the answer is no. If you are interested in sort of building science, that kind of stuff, it would be through the civil engineering program. Architecture specifically here at U of T Engineering is a Bachelor of Arts and is with the Daniels faculty. So if that might be something you're interested in, especially if you're more interested in the design aspect of architecture.
We also have a lot of questions about co-op opportunities and experiences for programs in various different programs, aerospace, bioengineering. Really, I think I would encourage you to visit our website, the discover.engineering.utoronto.ca website, where you're going to find a list of all of our programs, and we have sample PEY co-op employers listed there. Also, you can download our view book. We'll have similar information there as well. You'll be able to find a lot of information about sample PEY co-op employers on our website, as well as on the view book, which you can download from our website. We are about 1 minute out from when we have to say goodbye to everyone. I think I'd like to say just, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. If there's a question, you have a really burning question that you really like to get us to answer, I'd encourage you to email us at engineering@utoronto.ca. That was posted earlier on the presentation. I hope you caught that, but yes, the engineering@utoronto.ca. Send us an email. Either Jessica, myself, or one of our colleagues will be able to answer that question for you. Thank you so much for joining us. Jessica, I'll pass it back over to you for any final words.
Awesome. I don't think I have anything else, and I do see that we are at 4. So like Tyler said, thank you so much for taking the time and spending your morning, afternoon, evening, wherever it is that you're tuning in from with us. If you do have any more questions about U of T engineering, or you are requiring some additional advising or support as you're completing our application, I do encourage you to reach out to us through the email that Tyler just shared, which is engineering@utoronto.ca, which we have added to the chat. And then stay tuned. If you do apply, we will be in contact with you, letting you know about other opportunities for you to learn more about U of T engineering as you are waiting for an admission decision and deciding whether we are the best fit for you. And hopefully we are. So with that, we will sign off. Thank you again, Tyler, for managing our Q&A and the chat, or rather the Q&A and the chat, yes. But yeah, otherwise, enjoy everyone the rest of your day, and hopefully we will see you soon. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everyone.